Hey everyone, Tony Leidig here. Welcome to Expert Media Show. This is session 4, and today we're going to talk about dream killers. Let's talk about the next enemy here, and that enemy is delusion, or also known as the paradox of choice. And it really comes from us wanting to do all the things, and it's definitely tied to distraction. So delusion subtly renders us ineffective, all while convincing us that we're accomplishing a lot. In other words, we are doing a lot. We're doing 20, 30 different things. We have to really be careful of that, because what I've found is that all of the things that we're trying to accomplish are important, or we see that they're important. And so this delusion starts happening primarily in one of three ways: through multitasking, trying to be a jack of all trades, trying to keep all the plates spinning, or all the above, which is usually what happens, all the above. And so most of the time we consider it normal. I'm an entrepreneur. This is what I do, right? Except that it's not normal. And sooner or later, there are going to be consequences to trying to do it all. And so some symptoms of this delusion process, there's some real telltale signs. And so see if any of these sound familiar to any of you. All of a sudden, you start feeling added stress, anxiety, or frustration. Can't necessarily put your finger on it. I mean, for me, I didn't even know what was going on. I just felt weird. And it took me a while to figure out I was under major stress. Really, I honestly got very, very close to a point of burnout. You can also feel ineffective or unfulfilled, or both. Some of that comes from setting unrealistic goals for ourselves. It's like, I should be able to do this. I should be able to get all this done, and I'm not. When you pull back and you look at what you're actually accomplishing versus the average person, it's like you're doing 3 or 4 times what the average person does. Well, on the one hand, that sounds awesome and incredibly productive, but in reality, it's just stupid. Not that we should be slackers or, anything like that. I mean, as business people, we need to get shit done. Like that is our goal. GSD, get shit done. But we set up these goals and like, man, I should have been able to get this done by this particular time. And then we feel ineffective. We feel like we're unfulfilled, like we need more. When in reality, that's just our ego. We feel complacent or burned out. You don't get burned out if you're doing what you're supposed to be doing and not trying to do too much. But complacent is the opposite side of burnout, because we feel like we're slacking. We impose this expectation on ourselves or on people around us, and it can be incredibly challenging. Another symptom is not having enough time to do what you really love. This was a huge one for me that I didn't even realize was an issue until I got to the end of the year. Whenever I started slowing down and trying to figure out, okay, what the hell just happened here this year, I realized, I hadn't taken any photos. I mean, I have all this camera gear. Didn't even take any pictures last year. Hardly at all. Very, very few. And it's one of my true loves is photography. But there's also other things that I really love and enjoy as well. And there just wasn't time to do it because I was so busy doing all the other important things that I was doing. And it doesn't mean that the things that we were doing were wrong. Symptoms are what they are. You can deny all day long that you don't have this or that happening in your life, or physically or otherwise, but if all the symptoms are there, you have to pay attention. It's not enough to say, oh, you don't know what you're talking about. Everybody's wrong and I'm right. Whenever you start getting telltale signs like this coming from multiple directions, it's time to pay attention. Jealousy or envy toward those who have it all. That's all part of the comparison game. Very, very dangerous. You're not them, and they're not you. You never will be them. You might be able to accomplish the same things they have, but none of us are wired like the other people. And it's very, very dangerous. I look at some of our friends who are in the e-com space or, the product space or whatever, who are doing $1 million, $2 million a month. And I look at that, I'm like, how on earth did they even do that? Like, how do you do it? I mean, I'm friends. They've broken down their process. I know what they're doing. I know how they're doing it, but I'm not them. I'm not called to run their business or to start a business like theirs. I'm called to do what I'm supposed to do. So it's not fair to ourselves to compare ourselves to other. It's just not fair. So you need to stop doing that. Lack of a clear vision is another one. If you're not sure where you're going, how are you going to get there without wasting time and energy and all of that? And then easily distracted. One of the things that I've learned and discovered over the years is that there's a surprising number of people who lack mental toughness. And I've talked about that before some. I think on Nerd Unscripted, we've talked about that some. They lack mental toughness. And so as a result, they're very easily distracted. And the more you're trying to accomplish, it seems the more easily you can be distracted. I find that unfortunate, but it is what it is. So let's talk about how this happened. One of the big reasons that I found is because we can. And because we can is not a good strategy. You have to ask, what are you really getting out of making these choices? Whenever you take on more and more and more, why are you doing that? What are you really getting out of it? And the answers that I came up with aren't all necessarily bad, but they're not all necessarily good either. Okay, so like one is adrenaline rush. So most entrepreneurs are familiar with an adrenaline rush, and they get it in a lot of different ways. I'll tell you for a fact, the startup process for a business is quite the adrenaline rush. Because everybody's there and you're digging in and you're creating this thing and it's awesome and you're imagining how everyone else is going to think it's awesome, and it's a hell of a rush. I mean, it's just the synergy and all of that. It's crazy. But then there's also the superhero complex, which, we deceive ourselves into thinking we can do it all. We get to save the day. We get to look like the big man on campus, so to speak, just to pull from random analogies. And superhero complex is something that I've struggled with, not because I thought I was all that in a bag of chips. It's because I love so much to help people that I realized from an early age, business-wise, that I got a rush out of coming to save the day. So I would set up these crazy scenarios that would create looming disaster so that I could sweep in and fix it all and save the day. That's superhero complex. Savior complex, which is kind of tied to the superhero complex, where, we want to be it. Next best thing since the coming of Christ, so to speak. We want everyone to see us as this something that we really aren't. And in some cases, we want validation. We want to prove to others that we're worth something. And that goes back to self-worth. I mentioned that earlier. It's also very dangerous whenever you start doing things just for validation. You don't need validation from anybody. You need to feel good about your own decisions, so we can definitely grow from that. And then another big one is control. Now, I'll be the first to admit that I am a control freak. And the reason why is it's not that I think that I'm the best at anything or anything like that. I just don't like surprises. And I've been in scenarios where things didn't go as well as they could have because I chose to relinquish control. And then, of course, the smallest word is the biggest deal. And that is ego. Our ego gets in the way. Ego can really be an extremely dangerous contributor to killing your dream, as most of you are well aware. Julia says, "Well, I hope most of those, because I can, aren't the foundation of why I took back the art festival. More not wanting to see something that has a 46-year history to be in jeopardy of failure, and having a better partner who is younger and enthused feels better." Okay, so in reading what you're saying here, what it sounds more to me like, Julia, is that, and having known you for years, and we've chatted about this event before, it's something that you're incredibly passionate about and that you've been involved in for a long time, and now you have a younger partner who seems to be excited. It sounds to me like you're taking the proper steps to pass the torch to make sure that an event you're passionate about continues on. And that is not a because we can kind of thing. That's how things should be done. So I don't think you have anything to worry about there. The cure for delusion, right? This is what we want. We want the cure. Choose one thing, ask for help, and play the how do I feel game. Now let's kind of back off of this. Well, actually, let me add one more here. I have a couple more. Have a focused, clear goal and plan. That is the cure for dilution. What do you want? And then go after that thing or those couple things with everything that you have and ask for help along the way. You don't have to do it all. Like Julia is a really good example here. So she's very passionate about a festival that they have there in Colorado Springs. She found a partner to help her to do this thing. So she don't have to do it all herself. What a novel thought, right? And understand that the good is often the enemy of the best. So it's not enough to do good things. You want to do great things. And so 50 good things compared to 2 best things is no comparison. You just need to focus on a few things. Outsource is needed, which goes back to asking for help. There's no way we can be the best at everything. So everything that you're maybe good at or okay at or totally suck at, outsource them or partner with somebody else. And then find better tools. I am a very firm believer in using the absolute best tools that are available. Sometimes when you're getting started, most of the time when you're getting started, I believe that you can't use tools as an excuse to not start. You start with what you have, but as quickly as you can, upgrade to better tools, whether that's computers, software, whatever gear you need to do what you do. You want to have the absolute best tools that you can, because ultimately, yes, they're more expensive, but at the end, they save you a lot of time and energy, and that is money. Money in the bank. Hopefully you have found some solace in what I shared today, but I really want you to take to heart what I shared, especially entrepreneurs. It's something that all of us struggle with at one time or another. And I want us to become the absolute best that we can be. That's all that I have, folks. Thank you all very much. And I'll see you next Tuesday at 12 noon Eastern Time.